Hey, beautiful friends. This is Sarah Blumenfeld, host of Networking Done Different and outreach of an invitation to more.com. Today, I'm pleased to be here with one of my Toastmaster buddies, Rob Hefner of Old Glory Construction. And we're going to talk about general contractors, what that is, why you would want one, and subjects like that. So good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding today. I hope you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us first a little about your business and how you got it started and what you stand for.
I've spent a lot of years in the construction industry, mostly in vertical construction, building new homes, built semi-custom and custom homes, and I've done some, but not a whole lot of remodeling. I finally reached a point where I just wasn't comfortable with some of the things that go on in the industry. So the brilliant idea, brilliant if you ask me at least, of starting a company that consults and advises people that are having to deal with construction issues. You don't know what the builder is negotiating with you, and he says you have to do this. That may or may not be true. The general contractor says, oh, well, we have to wait because we can't get material. Yeah, really, I'm not quite sure that that's valid. And the idea was to be an on-call construction professional. When you're dealing with a construction problem and you want a professional in the industry that can help answer questions and help you get what you really want out of the whole thing, I was going to be that guy. However, business sometimes takes a turn. I ended up, just because of business pressure, people saying, hey, why don't you do this for me? Well, I'm not a general contractor. I don't want to be a general contractor. But I kept getting the questions. And about the same time, a friend of mine came to me and said, hey, I've been a general contractor for over 30 years. We've done all this beautiful work. We've done all this stuff. I'm just tired of the paperwork. Will you take care of the paperwork and let me just build stuff? So we ended up joining forces. Old Glory and the other company just kind of merged together into one. And we've grown a lot since then. The foundation of everything, remember why I started the business in the first place, is ethical and transparent. I want all my customers to know where every dollar they spend goes and not to have any questions about what we're doing on the job site or what they're actually paying for.
So how did you come up with the name Old Glory Construction?
Well, this is kind of funny. My wife and I were sitting on the couch talking about naming the new business. And she asked me, honey, are you sure you're not too old to start a business right now? A new business is a lot of work. And I said, well, I may be getting old, but I'm still glorious. And that's where the name comes from.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah, and you know, it works in a lot of ways. I'm a veteran, the Old Glory synergy there. We do a lot of renovations, restoring things to their old glory.
Oh, nice.
So it just works very, very well as a company name and what we do.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love that. Tell us, what is a general contractor and why would you want one?
General contractors, okay, they kind of have a bad reputation. If you own a home, if you're buying a home, and there's a list of things that need to be done. If you own rental property and somebody moves out and you need it to get ready, but you don't have the time to do the work, you call a general contractor to come in. Now, a good general contractor is registered with the local municipality. He has a website. He's actually, you can verify that he's legitimate, you know. There's a lot of horror stories. Everybody's heard the horror stories about general contractors, but if you need, some things require permit. let me back up a little bit. Some things require permit from the city.
Mhm.
Dealing with permits and getting all the proper paperwork lined up is a big part of what we do, just because it's such a hassle. And if you don't understand the system, if you don't understand the process, it's kind of hard to figure out on your own. You need a
Right.
general contractor to do that for you. You're comfortable painting the walls, you're comfortable doing a lot of work, but you need to put down new floors and you need to install new doors, and you don't have time to do it all yourself. You need a general contractor.
So would it be correct to say that the general contractor is like the orchestra conductor? He knows who needs to do all the pieces, how each of the pieces need to play together, and he brings it all together into beautiful music?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I need to get myself a conductor's baton. Just there's a lot of days I would just use it to boink people on the head when they're not doing what they're supposed to. But that is really my role as owner of the company, is to get the right people doing the right job at the right time for the right price, and
Mhm.
ensure my customers are happy with it start to finish. It is herding cats is a common analogy,
Mm.
but cats are much easier to control.
Yeah, well, the conductor analogy just came to me between the
It,
time that we agreed to do the interview and now. It came to me, it's like, oh, I like that a lot.
it's a beautiful analogy, and it absolutely applies.
Yeah, so I've watched,
There's a
go ahead.
uh, uh, there are some jobs where you have to bring in a subcontractor.
Mhm.
Generally, we do all the work ourselves. A lot of subcontractors, a lot of GCs, general contractors,
Mhm.
subcontract everything. But I have full-time guys that work for me that we do the work ourselves. But there's times you need to bring in a good sub,
Okay.
and those times is what the general contractor. That's where he makes his money. That's where he earns his worth, I should say.
Mhm. Mhm.
We haven't been in business very long, and this whole making money thing is still a dream, not necessarily reality in a brand new business.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure our friends have watched HGTV, like home renovation shows. And I'm thinking of one in particular that's about a flipping show, right? And so the expert flipper goes into these other guys and goes, you need a general contractor. And they're like,
Yes.
I don't know. I think we'll just try it on our own, right? And of course, they don't know how to find people. They don't know what permits they need, all this. So at the end of the show, where they've messed up again and again and again and again and had this problem, the lead guy comes back in and goes, so next time you're going to get a general contractor, right?
Well, and that's absolutely. I saw that same show, and it just kind of makes me shake my head. There's when people come up with pricing, okay, there's a lot of things that go into it. And one of the things that influences the price is the inexperience of the person they're talking to.
Mm,
See, most people don't know if $2 a square foot is a fair price for sheetrock.
mhm,
Somebody gives me that number, I'll laugh at them and walk away.
right.
That's that's not that's not realistic. And that is really the kind of decision I wanted to be involved with as a consultant. Now
Mhm.
I'm doing it as a general contractor and trying to find ways to make sure that we're paying a fair price.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and having your own crew is also important, I think, because you have longevity with them, their
Yes.
capabilities. It's not like you're going down to the corner store and picking up the people that are standing outside, right?
Well, I would never do that. I've been in the industry long enough that I have a pretty extensive Rolodex. If I need a painter or a concrete guy, I can call somebody and say, hey, how's the wife and kids? I haven't talked to you in a while. By the way,
Right.
you got time to look at this for me?
Yeah.
The
That's
the
so
guys,
valuable. I mean, people need to understand how valuable that is, just right there.
you know what? It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
It's all about making those professional and personal relationships that allow you to be successful.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. All business is. So when you're negotiating, do you work primarily with renovations or with new build or both?
Yes.
Okay.
We probably 70% of our workload right now is renovations.
Okay.
I would say roughly 70%. We have one or two commercial build outs that are, I won't stand up a commercial building. That's not my background.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as installing walls and putting up sheetrock and that kind of thing, I've done enough of that to be familiar with it, be comfortable doing it.
Right.
Where I would love to get into new home construction. That is my background, but it's not the focus of my company.
Mm-hmm.
Our flywheel, our center of gravity, however you want to define it, is home renovations.
Okay.
Generally, I tell people we'll do anything residential.
Okay. So what do they need to know about negotiating prices?
It's not about the labor costs. It's not about the material cost. Material costs can vary a little bit from a job to job, but if you have $5,000 in material, the best purchasing guy is going to get it for 4,800 or 4,700. The worst for a couple hundred in the other direction. That's
Mm-hmm.
not where the cost comes in. The cost comes in two different places. Overhead, which everybody has overhead, right?
Right.
You have to pay for a business, and overhead is not a bad thing. If you're looking for a renovations company that has a showroom and can help you make selections and provide color choices and help you design things, that's not the small kind of guy, but that guy is going to have bigger overhead,
Mm-hmm.
which equates to higher price. So
Right.
paying at different prices for the same work, you may be paying for something you don't need. For example, a designer, but you may be underpaying as well when you're expecting a small company to be able to design for you. So understanding the overhead and what you really want from the contractor is a big part of the cost. The most significant part, though, is risk. If you've ever even looked at the stock market, if you know what it is, you know that risk has a price.
Mm-hmm.
So when a general contractor comes in and says, I guarantee I'm not going to go over that price, he has enough risk built into that bid to account for all of the unknowns. A little bit of fluctuation in pricing. A vendor ups their labor cost by 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Is the things we can't see. We
Right.
did a job a couple weeks ago. It was just a white painted wall, not a big deal, small space, about 2 foot by 3 foot. The paint had bubbled up due to a water leak when a air conditioning unit had overflowed.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. We'll take out the sheetrock, put it back in. I bid it at $200. We're just going to take out the sheetrock, put it back in, retexture and paint. We took out the sheetrock and there were carpenter ants infested in that whole wall.
Oh,
So
no.
we had to get rid of all the carpenter ants, assess the damage they did. And we ended up rebuilding that wall.
Oh my goodness.
What looked like a little simple job turned into a 2-day affair.
Oh, wow.
Well, nobody wants to have to go back to a homeowner and have that uncomfortable conversation. Hey, we found this, I need more money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people will add enough into their bid to cover some of that risk.
Right.
There's the risk of not getting paid on time. And all those risks drive up the price.
Mm-hmm.
Now, understanding that risk, there's a couple ways to mitigate it. And this is where the negotiation piece goes in. Can I go there now?
Yeah, go there.
Flat rate bids are just that. If you request to change something, then submit a change order and accept the additional cost. But otherwise, they should meet that cost. What we do differently, it's all about standing out from the crowd, right? I
Mhm.
can say we do quality work. So does everybody else.
Right.
That's like putting I'm a people person on your resume. You know what else you're going to put? Of course, we do quality work, and I feel like I can control the quality of work because of people doing it work for me.
Right.
I give a bid, an estimate, and I really truly believe I can make that bid. And I don't ask for money up front. I don't, unless there's a big expense in material up front before we get started.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we're doing a sunshade, and the sunshade itself has a 2-week delivery time and costs about $1,200. Okay, I'm going to ask for that money.
Yeah.
But generally, we go in and go to work, and we bill on Thursday, every Thursday.
Okay.
We don't ask for money up front unless there's a big upfront cost. You know where your people are,
Mm-hmm.
or you know where your workers are, because when we start a job, we assign a lead to that job. And his job until it's complete is to be there every day.
Oh, nice.
It's so, in looking to differentiate ourselves, we look at what do people complain about with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is money up front. How do I know where my money's going? They want 50% up front. How do I know they're ever going to show up again?
Right. Right.
So
But
we
you hear
address
horror
that.
stories about that, right?
We all have.
Yeah.
So we address that with weekly billing. We hear, well, they showed up, they worked for 3 days and disappeared. I haven't heard from them. What do I do?
Right.
Somebody will be on the job site every day.
Yeah.
If they're not there, you'll get a call saying, hey, they're not going to be there tomorrow, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple times where we called that morning and said, hey, he had a car wreck. It did actually happen. One guy working by himself on a job, he didn't show up, and it was because he got rear-ended on the highway and had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll put somebody on the job to stay there the whole time. The third biggest complaint is, where's my money going? I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving them $10,000 for this job. Where does it go?
Mm-hmm.
So we break it down. When we submit our bids, it shows how much we expect to spend in material with a list of what we expect to purchase, how many hours in labor and the labor rate that we charge,
Mm-hmm.
what the markup is, how much money I make on the job,
Mm-hmm.
and what the tax rate is. 4 different columns that come down to a total at the bottom. So you
Nice.
know exactly what we're asking for. When we invoice every Thursday, it includes how many hours we worked.
Hmm.
And it includes, if a homeowner really wants it, I can provide copies of the invoices, but all of the invoices are listed on the page showing this is how much money we spent, this is how much money, this is where we spent it,
Wow.
and this is what we bought with it. So it's completely transparent. You'll know who's working on your job site, where we're spending money to buy stuff, how many hours we spent to do it. Categories: labor, material, taxes, and markup.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Trying to directly address all the horror stories that we've heard,
Yeah.
and trying to separate ourselves from the crowd by calming those fears.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if we do it like this, the big 3 things people worry about with contractors, they go away.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. So what else do you want people to know about general contracting and how they should, like, when should they need you? Like, I bet the people who just had the little piece of wall might have thought, "Oh, I don't know."
Right.
But turns out, right, it was really important.
Well, that's true. In that situation, it did. Generally, if somebody's calling us, it's because they have a need that they either don't have the time
Mhm.
or don't have the willingness to address.
Okay.
There's a job we're waiting on word back on where uh, he's in a wheelchair now, and he needs his house adapted to allow him to be in a wheelchair. He needs the help. He can't do it himself.
Right.
So he has to call a general contractor to get that done because it's his first time in a wheelchair.
Mm.
He doesn't understand all the implications of making a house ADA compatible, not compliant. There's a difference. But but the adjustments to the house to make it easier for him to live in it out of a chair.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time with my veterans. I think you're aware I spend a lot of time on the nonprofit side with veteran benefits and veteran resources in Galveston County. And we've worked on several houses for that purpose exactly. Not as Old Glory, but as the construction guy on the nonprofit side. And now as Old Glory, we've done a couple as well.
Wow. So tell us about some of your most interesting jobs.
My favorite job we've done so far, and it's just because it turned out beautifully. A customer had the idea, there's walk into the house, and there's a living room and the stairs over on one side. And underneath the stairs, a lot of houses have that coat closet underneath the stairs. Well, this was kind of a big one. The back wall of it was about 5 feet high. So it wasn't just a little bitty corner. And they'd always wanted a wine cellar. So we took that coat closet, took it down to the walls, put stone tile on the sides, stone tile, painted the ceiling, sound right, but painted the ceiling gold. It turned out beautiful. Set a cabinet and a mini fridge in the back with a wooden countertop on top of it, and gave them their little wine cellar that they'd always wanted. Now, what we have not been able to do yet is find the right kind of metal garden gates to get in and out of it. They had some very specific ideas, and we showed them a lot of options, and they just weren't happy with it. And she finally said, you know what? We're going to find it, and we'll call you when it's time to install it.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
fun. But taking that coat closet and turning it into a beautiful little wine cellar is one of my favorite jobs we've done so far.
Oh, wow. That sounds so cool. Yeah, mostly when I think of home renovations, I think of bathrooms and kitchens, right?
Well, bathrooms and kitchens are great jobs. For one, it's hot outside and they're inside the house.
Indoors is great.
Right. But bathrooms and almost always cost more than people think they will, because there's so many little things to do. I want to move this cabinet over 3 feet. Well, that's great, but that means all the electrical components have to move. We have to adjust where the air vents come in. We have to deal with all the plumbing issues and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just taking out a cabinet, moving it over, and putting it back in.
Right.
In bathrooms and kitchens, there are so many things behind the walls. They get complicated quick.
Yeah.
But we love doing them. The guy I joined with, Bill, that was his specialty for 30 years. Bathrooms and kitchens is what he loved to do. And we've gotten into some what they call make readies. If you're renting a house and somebody moves out, then you need to make it ready for the next renter.
Right.
Or if you're getting ready to sell a house, you need to make it ready to sell. And that's just coming in and general touch-up things. We need to paint this bedroom, fix that stair step, rehang that door, fix this water leak, et cetera, et cetera. Those make readies is one of the things that we like to do as well.
Oh, wow. You need to be marketing to realtors.
Yes, we do. We definitely do.
Because that's a valuable service, and as a real estate agent myself, I know when I go into a house, it's like, oh man, fortunately, my broker has somebody to do that, but it's so needed and such a load off of the homeowner or the landlord to have somebody that can just come in and do that and quickly too, and say, hey, let's turn
Right.
this around.
Let's turn this around. Well, one of the interesting things about how we bill and how we bid, most importantly, as it applies to make readies in real estate and that sort of thing, we do line item bids. So, for example, you want to remodel the kitchen, that's one line on the bid sheet. You want to rehang a door, that's another line. Repaint the bedroom, that's another line. And what that allows real estate agents to do is sit down with the seller and say, okay, you have $10 in your budget. Everything we need to do is going to be 15. So let's prioritize to get the maximum return on what you spend. And then at the same time, go to the buying agent and say, here's a bid for this stuff. Let's make a deal because this is a valid bid.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that would be a valuable resource.
Yeah.
Marketing it is something that we're working on. But marketing is hard. It is absolutely the hardest part of owning a business. Marketing.
Yeah. So you mentioned sunshades, which of course are outdoors, right? What kind of things do you do on the outside of the house?
We've built a lot of decks, resurfaced decks and that kind of stuff. I try and avoid fencing unless it's part of another job.
Okay.
Don't accept a fence only. Starting a house soon up in Pasadena, where they want several things done: repaint the exterior of the house, fix some sheetrock damage.
You're freezing up on me, Rob. All right, friends, hang in there. We'll give it a second here. Hopefully he'll come back. He hasn't fallen asleep. He's just frozen up. So let's talk about general contracting, why it's important. As Rob has already said, it's somebody who can look at the job, have experience in a lot of things. He has a crew that he can bring in on that are employed by him, so they know how to work together. And Rob is back. Rob was freezing up on us there. I was trying to fill space.
Well, my apologies. I was just talking along and you were smiling nicely at me, and then I realized you weren't moving.
Yeah. Okay. So we were talking about decks and fences and such things.
We do a lot of decks. They're kind of fun to design and build. There's some interesting materials out there for them. So just building a deck, it's not as simple as just building a deck sometimes. The material you want, how long you want it to last, what kind of coatings, coverings, do you need to seal it? Do you not seal it? Those are interesting.
Yeah.
The sunshade is kind of a one-off. The young man was trying to get a sunshade put out in the backyard and couldn't find anybody to take the job. He knew what he wanted, but nobody's willing to do it. So sure, we'll do it. It's going to be an interesting little job. We'll learn something from it. That makes it worth doing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we all need sunshades in this weather. All right. So what else do you want people to know as we wrap up today?
Let's see, we've covered a lot of territory this morning.
We have. How do they get in touch with you if they'd like you to bid a job for them?
Well, there's more than one way. Our website is oldglorytx.com. The phone numbers, there are two different phone numbers actually. One is mine. My phone number direct is 281-546-8836. And I'm always willing to talk, but I'm always on the phone. So if I can't answer, like the 3 people that have called me during this interview,
All
I will
right.
call you back as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Another phone number to call is Fawn Kowalski. She is customer care.
Mm,
Job is to make sure our customers are happy from the first phone call till the final payment, and maintain contact and everything else.
nice.
She has a background in real estate and flipping houses, so she knows what she's talking about on the remodeling side as well. She's
Mhm.
been a huge asset to who we are. Her name is Fawn, and her phone number is 409-295-1951. Of course, we're on the generic social media sites,
Mhm.
Facebook, Google, and Yelp as Old Glory Construction Management. You got to put that management on the end of it. And yeah, look us up. We're in a lot of different places. We'd love to hear from you. And
Cool. All right. Well, I
I'm
hope
sorry.
what?
I got distracted for a second. Somebody called in and it activated on my iPad instead of on my phone.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
He's a busy guy. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I hope that our friends really
Thanks for your
learned
time this
something.
morning.
Yeah.
And thanks for thinking of me in this.
It was awesome.
All right.
Thank you, friends, for listening. We always appreciate you taking the time to listen to Networking Done Different. If you would like to be interviewed, please email me at networkingdonedifferent@gmail.com. Thanks. Have a great day. See you later.
Have a great day.